everyone, my name is Allison from Allie B Creative Studio, and I am so excited to put my first video out. I have developed a pattern that I think is very beginner friendly, and you can find the link to the pattern in my Etsy store in the description down below, but it's called Simply Squares, and it's just a pattern made out of squares, but it gives you enough variation so you can use those creative juices and make your first quilt. I've been quilting for about 2.5 years, and I have just fallen in love with it. I have a cabinet full of fabric. I've made quilts from, a baby size to a king size, and I've ventured into pillows and all other things that go along with sewing. So it's a lot of fun. And this first video, it's going to be a video series, and we'll go through different parts of the pattern. But you will need to purchase the pattern, as I won't give all the secrets away. But these are some little extra tidbits and notes that I can't really put in writing. It's hard to. A lot of times it's easier to show. So I hope you guys come along and join me in learning the Simply Squares pattern. So I want to go over some just, sewing basics of what you will need for the pattern. So I use some abbreviations in the pattern. WOF is called width of fabric. So when you have yardage, the two edges, when it measures about 44 inches, that is your width of fabric. And there's also an abbreviation of FQ, which is a fat quarter, which is a 18-inch by 22-inch piece of material. And fat quarters are a lot of fun. I have many in my stash that just, help build it up. But this pattern's really meant to, be free and carefree. You can use whatever fabric you have laying around. This doesn't require a significant investment. If you've got some old fabric, just stashed away, pull it out. See what inspires you. You are going to need some standard sort of sewing materials. You're going to need a sewing machine. I use a Janome 9450. I love it. I've had it for about 6 months, and it's the best money I've ever spent. You're going to need a cutting surface. I have a pretty large cutting surface. I have one that's, I think it's metric instead of standard, but I think it's 23 by 35, so I think it's a yard measure or a meter measurement instead of a yard, but it works. I just got it off of Amazon, but any cutting surface will do. You just need something to protect what you're cutting, whether or the surface under which you're cutting, so your table, whatever it is. I highly recommend a rotary cutter. You don't have to use a rotary cutter, but I just recommend it. I use the Quilter Select Rotary cutter. It's weighted, and it's ambidextrous, so you can use it left-handed or right-handed. I am a left-handed quilter, so tools that are there that are made, for left-handers or for those of us, or ambidextrous in nature are extremely helpful. If you don't have a rotary cutter, you don't want to invest in a rotary cutter, plain old scissors. I do recommend, a fresh pair of scissors. After cutting paper, cutting fabric is really difficult with scissors, so a fresh pair of scissors would be great. Rulers, I recommend Creative Grid rulers. Again, these are Creative Grids has just started releasing left-handed ruler sets. You do need about a 10-inch square ruler. It'll just help you square up your blocks. So this is a 12.5 by 12.5 inch ruler. So something like right around 10 inches. You don't really need a square ruler. It just is very helpful. I do like the Creative Grids because they have these like grippy things on the back, so it stops it from moving. I also recommend kind of a short ruler. This is 2.5 by 12.5 inch ruler. It's great just for trimming some little ends of fabric. It's less wieldy than say a 6.5 by 24.5 inch ruler, which works perfectly well for this pattern as well. So whatever works best for you. I don't necessarily pin, but if you feel that your fabric is slipping, sliding, etc., some pins are great. Those Wonder Clips, they're great too. An iron and an ironing mat. I use an Aliso TG 1600 Pro. I love it. I've had it since September. Best investment I've ever made. Pressing, I never said that I would. I said when I got married that I would never own an iron. I now own 3 irons, and I've yet to use any of them for actually ironing clothes. I solely iron my quilts. And a pressing mat or an ironing board. I use a wool mat. It just seems to work a lot better for me. The wool keeps the heat, so your seams get a lot sharper and a lot flatter. For fabric, so I've made this pattern for individuals who like pre-cuts, but also those who have, you know, fabric laying around, or if you like to wander the fabric store and just browse. So I've tried to make it to fit everyone's stash. So you'll need at minimum you can either use a layered cake or fat quarters, or you can use yardage. So, you know, I'm going to use a layer cake to demonstrate how to do this pattern, but, you know, here's some beautiful Tula Pink fat quarters. They're from her Free Spirit line, or True Colors line, pardon me. They're just gorgeous. I love them. This is some, you know, just an example of some 1 yard yardage cuts that I have in my stash. Again, really pretty, just, you know, light, simple, nothing that's so overwhelming. But again, just a beautiful array of fabric. But what I'm going to use is, I'm going to use a layer cake. It's called Shimmer and Shine by Canvas Studio. And it's this beautiful springy pattern. There are some darker fabrics in there, but I don't know, I like dark fabrics. I think it gives it a nice contrast, but I think this will make a great, I'm going to do a wall hanging for the example that I walk through. And I need a spring wall hanging, so I think this will work perfectly. I also have in the pattern what you'll need for your backing, and 2 options, 108 with the fabric. So again, the selvage to selvage is going to be 108 inches long. So that will require less yardage because the fabric is wider, but then it will also require, or not require, you to piece your backing, which is beneficial. And that would be for the throw size. Batting is usually 90 inches with the fabric, and obviously you need some fabric for your binding. So let's get started. We're going to start with cutting, and that'll be in the next video. If you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you get notified when I post some new videos. And please if you like the video, give me a thumbs up.